Well, here we are back on StreamYard after a bit of a hiatus. Obviously, we go back into coming out of lockdowns and go back to normal life, and then we go back into lockdowns. And I use these evolved conversations last time to reconnect with all the amazing people around the globe. And we've got technology these days to be able to have evolved conversations with friends, families, coaches, guides, mentors. And today I'm super excited. It's probably been 12 months in the planning to get Ron, who's been a massive part of my life over the last 3 years. And I just want to pay credit to where the connection was formed, and I think it's where we need to pay respect to that. So the Maverick community, I went to Camp Maverick, and an awesome community of like-hearted humans, and Ron was a guest speaker there, ran a workshop, and I just connected with his story, his work, and what light he's kind of bringing onto the world. And we've just stayed in contact, and especially the last 6 months has really helped me immensely sort of move through blocks, barriers, understanding, processing. And I feel like we have coaches in other parts of our life, from fitness and health, but when was the last time we kind of invested into our mindset and understanding the past and all this sort of thing? So I found Ron. I'm grateful. And Ron, welcome to Evolved Conversations. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for inviting me. I look forward to exploring wherever we go.
Yeah, there could be some rabbit holes. And as Ron said before we jumped on the call today, is like, I've got 6 months to talk. And I'm like, we could talk for 6 months because we always go over time, but we'll see if we can keep it to sort of 45 minutes to an hour today. So Ron, just tell us a little bit about your story, because yes, it could be a 6-month story, but tell us a bit about where you were and where you are now, and sort of the work that you're now sharing to the world.
Well, what I'm doing now, and then I'll segue it back, is for the last 25 years, I have been the leader and guide at a school of self-mastery in New York City. It came out of my own process and my own need to find myself and claim myself and free myself from so much wounded stuff that I carried. And so as I worked with lots of different teachers, I assimilated my own process, my own way of nurturing and connecting and awakening more of the potential that I have felt we all held since I was a child. I used to say that all the time, and I didn't even know exactly what I was saying. But from the time I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, I was like, I just know that so much more is possible. And people don't seem to have the answers, but I just know there is a way for life to make sense, for it to truly make sense and have order. And so I went on that journey, and I am really grateful that not only did I resolve tons of my own core challenges, fear, shame, judgment, stuff that was ruling me, even within a certain success that I had in a first career. I'm so grateful that the tools and the understanding that I developed along the way ended up helping thousands of other people so far all around the world. So that's a little bit of the story.
Ron is extremely humble. So another thing that happened at Maverick is his past career that he's probably not going to go into. But there was a stand-up, or not a stand-up, but an entertainment show, Bring Your Best Day Game, to the stage to share with the audience. And there was some C-grade acts, there was some A-grade acts, and then there was Ron Baker that jumped on stage. And I don't know what came from within his lungs, but I thought I was at Phantom of the Opera at a campsite in the middle of upstate New York. So what was that past career, and share with people, because it's not, that's where our story, I think, intersects in regards to past, present, future. So,
yeah. I had the great opportunity to have a career performing, I guess, over 60 leading roles in Broadway shows and opera all over the world. And I remember after jumping to that world-class level, making my debut at Lincoln Center in New York City, I remember thinking, I don't think that my hope that proving my worth in the world, even becoming famous in the world, is going to be able to somehow magically erase the emptiness and the self-doubt that I carry. And I had truly hoped and worked really hard to make that agenda work out, as have countless others. And I was very fortunate to get a world education, and I got to sing with celebrities and even shared the stage with 2 Supreme Court justices, etc. None of that dented the inside and filled me up somehow just from achievement. So
Yeah, no.
that's
Wow.
what really got my attention and got me to shift my focus to an inner journey. So there's your segue.
And it's really interesting from such an emotional career that there's so much richness in voice and music. And I know I've done some work in that space, and the visceral feeling I get from being in young people performing and seeing their voice, their creativity and everything come to life. And it's really interesting, the perspective from someone that was at the top and it was still that emptiness. And as you said, not being able to dent and get through to, if I compare it to my entrepreneurial journey or hockey career, the not enough. And I think especially a lot around the world right now with COVID, it gives us that time and reflection to look inwards. And I'm grateful for COVID to be that catalyst. It's getting a lot more people to do the work and understand self. That not enoughness is, and you've given me some great tools, and I can't wait to sort of dive into some tools to be able to take away. But you've done the research. Where does that not enoughness come and ingrained into our psychology, I suppose?
Well, I eventually realized that even though I went to 20 years of school, not a single course nor a single adult along the way ever talked about self. No courses taught me about how to connect to self and how to claim self and value self and experience life from the inside out. And so as I realized that just an outer journey was not going to do it, I began to gather clues from various teachers, and in the long run have come up with what I feel is a very clear map of what I call the whole self. And the fact that we are all born with 3 levels of potential. And the simplest way to identify those is child, adult, soul. Now we could call that the subconscious, the conscious mind, and the superconscious, but much more relatable as child, adult, and soul. So we're born with all that potential. And one of the things that frustrated me as a child was hearing that we get this one lifetime and we're supposed to take whatever hand we're dealt and figure it all out to move on to some eternal situation that sounded like reward and punishment to me. And none of that made sense. And so as I began to gather clues from a lot of different cultures around the world, a lot of different teachers, what eventually made great sense to me is if we have this eternity, and I deeply believe and experience a greater sense of that now, then why in the world can we not have lots and lots of lifetimes growing at our own pace from first grade lifetimes on to more evolved lifetimes? And then all of a sudden, it makes sense that people have different challenges and people have different gifts and people have different setups. Well, the soul level of our lives, I now trust, sets up what is absolutely perfect in our early lives. In those first 8 years of life, we're developing what I call the hard drive of the nervous system. And when we are not nurtured in 9 specific ways that we all need and that we all share, we personalize in our limbic brain, this is what I deserve. And we're not being taught. Can I use you as an example?
Yeah, no, 100%. Any stories and sharing them.
We're not being taught, Steve, you're a sacred individual on a unique soul journey, and you have so much potential held inside you that you could literally claim layer after layer after layer for the rest of your life. What is most important, no matter what you choose, is to know that connecting to yourself is the most important thing you'll ever do. To learn to value and love and invest in self. And then everything else you bring that self to is enhanced. So, for instance, your hockey, my performing career, if I had an inner sense of self and I brought that to the performing career, the experience would have been vastly different. And so basically, why do we have the not good enough or the emptiness or the doubt? That's a part of the setup and a part of the challenges that we're there to eventually seek out, resolve, fill in, learn to nurture in our adult lives. And so that's where we are in the evolution of the planet so far.
Yeah, thanks. That's so well explained. And that's been probably the biggest light bulb moments for me, is being able to go back and understand and process, and then being able to connect with reality, which is right now, and then evolve into this this next chapter. So and the tools that you give, like, even though it was it might be directed at self, but our last session that we had together literally helped transform a relationship with a blended family. We're bringing together, and we had this talk about one of the kids and being able to use those tools, which were for self, onto the family unit, was hugely powerful. So yeah, nice. On a positive light, that was fantastic. How do you think? Yeah, because obviously 5 kids, and for me, it's really, I think my legacy that I want to leave behind is that we get this next generation communicating, understanding self. I don't want to use the word self-love because I feel like it's just out there and too much, but it's just understanding self and understanding emotions move forward. What would be some things that you would put into the education system or the youth system that would really help transform young people moving forward?
Yeah, well, the good news is that no matter what age we are, when we seek out what has been missing, whether it's still in childhood or in adulthood, the same experiences can allow us to claim and value self. So if we can get people when they are younger, and we can train parents into healthier awareness of the kinds of nurturing experiences that we all needed as children, and that we can begin to practice with children at a younger age, then they won't end up with the same level of emptiness. Of course, they're going to have whatever soul challenges they've brought in, but they'll have a better foundation for processing those challenges, nurturing those challenges, and trusting self. And when we trust and value self, we naturally want to value and build intimate connections with the people around us. When we don't really trust our self-value, then we don't feel safe to be seen, and we don't feel safe to share and become true supports of one another. So every answer I give will have such big context that we can go to. But for us to begin to show up And let me name some of these 9 nurturing experiences. We all need to feel safe, not just physically safe, though it starts out that way. We eventually need to feel emotionally safe and mentally safe and sexually safe and spiritually safe. So safety is the bottom line. And if that is not in place, then the foundation of our lives becomes very shaky, and we don't feel safe to land in our bodies and to trust connecting even to our caretakers. So safety, connection, affection, those are the 3 primary physical experiences that we need as a foundation. And then we move to the emotional awakening, where we need acknowledgement of what we're feeling and how safe we are to feel that and express that and share that and land in that particular experience. So acknowledgement, acceptance, and compassion. Those are the next 3 of the 9 nurturing needs. And we've grown up on a planet where the emotional education is rather primitive. And therefore, we haven't been encouraged to land in our feelings. We needed, as children, I'll use you as an example, as if you're a child at the moment, and we would hear, Steve, I see that you're feeling sad. And we'd be like, oh, you're safe. I'm connected. Let's nurture that. And we would learn to claim our capacity to feel sad and happy and excited and confused and every feeling. If the modeling had been encouraged, accepted with compassion. When we don't get that, we have a feeling that comes up and we get stuck. And particularly if mommy and daddy didn't feel safe with that feeling. Let's just say they didn't feel safe with sad. And they're like, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. And we, instead of claiming and trusting this first layer of self and individuality that awakens, we learn to shame and judge it. And we bury it because we want to stay connected to mommy, daddy. So it becomes very logically programmed for the child. And we need to now go back and not only claim that in ourselves, but to help the young people by finding out what was missing and offering that to them. Even if we're learning at the same time with them, how cool would that be? Can you imagine if our moms and dads had said, no worries, you're safe, but I'm still learning too. I don't have all the answers, but I have enough of the answers for us to be safe and keep growing together. I can't even imagine having heard that. It would be so great, but we can learn to do that now.
Yeah, and thanks for going through the 9 nurturing needs, because they're powerful. And I know on our calls we kind of go and break them through in steps, and that's kind of part of the understanding. And I think it was the last session was the appreciation, acceptance, and safety, and some of the tools to be able to get into those spaces. Because right now, and I do want to sort of take this segment of time around, we are in a very unsafe time and an uncertain time with a pandemic that, or the scenario, whatever we want to call it, is many people haven't experienced anything like this. And there is a lot of uncertainty, fear, and different ways of working and everything. So what's been, obviously you have lots of clients and understanding, and what have you seen, heard, felt over the last sort of 2 years, and what are some sort of tools that can help people get into this sense of, like, everywhere I talk to Ron, you're just deeply calm and in flow, which we all strive to be in, right? So because then we're in a position to make calm decisions, calm responses, calm approaches. It'd be good to get an insight around what this COVID life has kind of shown up with.
A couple of things that occur to me. I get asked rather often, what am I witnessing with people and how they're handling or not handling so well this whole pandemic and lockdown and change in our lives? And I say, well, the good news is that all of my clients are doing really well. Why is that? Because when you connect to self and you trust your support system of people and connection, whether we're online like you and I are at the moment, or whether you're in person, you're not determined nearly so much by what's happening outside you. However, I also, when the pandemic began, wanted to help as many people as possible. And so I sat down and did a series of 5 podcasts, 5 episodes on how to approach this time, how to look for the gifts of this time, how to connect to your feelings and process, because a lot of people are feeling, particularly before it opened back up, we're feeling so alone and so trapped. And so if you don't know how to connect to self, particularly if you live by yourself, it just exacerbated an awareness of what was missing. Similar to what I discovered after my debut at Lincoln Center, this was a more forced immediacy. But there are good news elements in everything. If we can take no matter what's happening and go, okay, what is this a chance to practice? So when conflict happens in a relationship, what is this a chance to practice? What quality could I practice? What new choice could I explore? Everything, no matter what the situation, is an opportunity to decide who I'm going to become, what I want to be better at. So if I practice more inner time, more nurturing, more calming, more breathing, more reaching out to people, which a lot of people hadn't been doing because they're so busy in their lives. It's like, no, let me take a minute and actually share and connect and listen and encourage and support. Let's bring some of these 9 nurturing needs back in there, just in the moments. So there are lots of layers that we could talk about. And if we don't get too much time to explore those layers in our talk today, people can go to my website, ronbaker.net, and look for those past episodes on the podcasts.
Yeah, I think that's great as well, because there are so many good tools on the website as well, with the couple of meditations on there as well, and the 9 nurturing needs, the PDF that can be downloaded. It's just a great
free gift for whoever comes. Yep.
A cue card to go, okay, what am I missing right now? Like I think questions are so powerful, and the work that I've done with exchange and appreciative inquiry is like, how do we use questions to bring out the positive side of things? So often, especially in New Zealand, I can say is that we're very quick to look for problems or look for solutions and look at the negative, the dark holes of things, versus going, what's actually working right now? And I know Sarah does a lot of this with her work as well, is that what is actually working and how do we amplify it? Versus trying to solve problems. It's a lot easier, I feel, to amplify something.
Well, it's nice to have the balance.
Nice to have the balance as well. So the stage 3, which you kind of, this is such a great segue, with the support and encouragement. And I feel that COVID has been a catalyst to reach out and support local when we're in lockdown, support people that are less fortunate than us. The encouragement, I think, maybe has been a little bit lacking, but there has been encouragement. But the one thing out of those nurturing layers, the 9 nurturing layers, is clarity. It's interesting. There's a lot of fog right now because people have so much uncertainty. So what would you say around the clarity, which I think the world is lacking right now, is?
Well, clarity does not equal having all the answers. But it does mean I need clarity about an approach, clarity about what sets me up well and what doesn't. Initially, when we're a child, these last three of the 9 nurturing needs, which are clarity, encouragement, and support to be the individual that I am, the clarity needed to be clear guidance, clear investment of approaches being taught. And most of us didn't get that, not because our parents wanted to be jerks, but because they didn't know how. So if somebody said to me, I need to build a jet engine, go, teach me.
Yeah.
I can't teach what I don't know. And so mommy and daddy were like that. Even with the best of intentions, if they don't know how to teach us to approach life. So back to the clarity. It needed to be clear guidance and then eventually evolve into clear communication. So this is one of the things that people can do. They can seek out the tools and become clear. They can seek out one another and share and find out they're not alone in what they're going through and feel clearer. They can find out that there are reliable support systems of people in place that just need clear encouragement that I am interested and I need that in my life. And if you need that, let's make sure we get together and do that and offer that encouragement and support to one another. So those are some levels of clarity that we need, and that we are not unsafe because we don't have all the answers. We can grow into more and more and more of the answers as we go. Yeah, those
Yeah,
are a few
no,
thoughts.
that's great. And I'm just looking, because obviously I got the nurturing needs. My memory is like a goldfish again. That's its self-talk, right? So I've got them up next to me, and I'm just looking at them as we speak, and I'm like, well, it's not only for self, but it's for the family system, it's for business. It's these 9 nurturing needs can be literally fused into each part of your ecosystem. So yes, physical touch, probably not in the workplace, but affection and in some way, definitely around the different systems can benefit, right? So the acknowledgement, acceptance, and compassion right now, when we're going back into lockdown in New Zealand, is what is needed. Right now, if everyone could be compassionate about the situation and the scenario we're going through, the acceptance of we're here, we can't do anything about it outside of our control. People are there doing that, and then the acknowledgement is what's happened. And I think that's what's helped me out the most, is probably that stage 2 of the 9 nurturing needs. So I appreciate that. Breath. So something that you've taught me a lot over the last 6 to 12 months is understanding breath and the connection with breath. And I'm very fortunate to have yourself and also Sandro that's been in the physical environment to help me with breath work. And yeah, what's happened to breath? Like, there's been obviously the Wim Hof, which is the is very commercial, I suppose, and it's out there to the world, and it's been great because it's brought breath work to millions of people, and it's opened up the other modalities that have been around for thousands of years as well. What's happened to breath in COVID? We'll stop taking breaths.
Yeah. Man, every single question has a huge context of answers that I'd love to offer, but let's start with some first layers here. Most people move through life very disconnected from their bodies and from self. So if you're listening to this discussion at the moment, just take a moment, don't change a thing, but now shift your focus to yourself. Don't change anything just because we're talking about breath. Notice how you've been breathing the whole time that we've been here. I can almost guarantee what you'll discover, because I've been teaching this for 25 years and I've never had someone come in breathing in the way that I will suggest. Most people discover that they're breathing really high and shallow, and that's what I call survival breathing. Why is that? It's because the first stages of development as a child, where we end up not being nurtured in all those ways, and we end up with fear, shame, and judgment, and personalizing that we don't deserve to be treated and invested in. Those all happen in the lower energy centers of the body. And if I hold all my fear, shame, and judgment in that part of my body, I'm going to want to get as far away from shaking that up as possible. And so we go up into our heads and we try to figure it all out, and we breathe down to here. And it only makes us feel a constant reminder of not being safe, not being connected, not having affectionate connection, even to self. And so in order to fill in the pieces that have been missing, it is crucial that we're not just aware of those 9 words. Those are realms of experience. And one of the ways that we create safety and connection, the first 2 of the 9 needs, is with breath. And so I'd love for everyone, Steve, you already know what I teach, so don't demonstrate at the moment. I'd love for everyone who's listening to take what you consider a deep, proactive breath in the nose and out the mouth. Even though it's dead time, everybody go ahead, in the nose and out the mouth. Now, Steve is already
I
doing
needed that, Ron. 30 minutes. I needed that. So thanks, man.
He's already doing a healthier version, but I guarantee most people, when they go to take a deep breath, it looks something like this. And the chest becomes really puffed up. And then the out breath usually looks like, with as little opening as possible to empty out some of the air. And this is careful survival breathing. Now, that is still way more energy and oxygen into the body than what you were doing before. But what I encourage everyone to do is remember how a baby breathes lying on its back in the crib. The only thing that moves when we were all babies in the crib is right here. We naturally fill up the belly. It's full body connected breathing. And that's only one of 3 pieces of the breath. But that gives us a message every time we breathe in and fill up the lower belly. I'm safe to receive. I deserve to receive. And every time we only breathe to here, we remind, whether we know it or not, the subconscious child, we're not safe to connect and breathe. We're not deserving to receive. And this keeps that emptiness and self-doubt in place. So the in-breath through the nose into the belly is the first part. That's the receiving. The second part is the assertive out-breath through the mouth. And it looks and sounds something like this. For the sake of time, I'm sending it all the way to the other side of the room. I'm not forcing. I'm just safe to assert myself, to assert my inner self out with this breath. So the third part of the breath is the stillness and calm, the nurturing stillness. So one full breath. Experiencing the calm, letting it have a few seconds. Now, until you get used to it, you'll feel almost a panic to breathe in again, but eventually breathing out 90% of the air and moving into, wow, it feels so good to let go for a minute. It feels so good to just let go of all that outer stuff and just focus on nurturing and connecting and being affectionate with my own body. the first 3 needs.
Hmm.
That will calm and release some of the pressure cooker, and that's just one of the foundational tools for helping yourself. So during this time of COVID, when we don't know what's happening and we don't know what the answer is, and we're constantly being handed sound bites of fear about what could happen if, we have to come back to trusting my soul plan and nurturing myself and setting myself up to be calm. All that builds a whole different level of health, proactive health. As an example of encouragement, I've only been sick 2 days in 25 years, using the tools that I practice, and the breath and the nurturing and the calm and the connection, all within the breath, are part of that foundation that you too can build, rather than going in fear and worry, which creates contraction, constriction, and the energy can't move to sustain health in the same way. So those are some starting places.
Yeah, you gotta love the and just doing a couple of breaths on a call is it resets things. And yeah, it's so funny that we restrict the fundamental needs for with oxygen. And something came through the other day with around emails, the amount of emails we're getting these days, and every time the notification pings on our phone or pings, we literally hold our breath in anticipation. So it's literally disrupted the way we need to breathe. So,
well, you know what's wacky is that most people, when they go to hug each other, literally go,
I do remember that awesome session we did around like how to hug properly, and it was amazing because we do, and especially during COVID, we're like, do I hug someone, do a high five?
Yeah, it's gotten us further and further away from all the nurturing connection. And of course, we have to be reasonable and make wise choices within the context of a pandemic. However, long before there was a pandemic, people tended to hold their breaths even when they're hugging their closest people.
So what would you say to sort of finish things off around some tools? Like the breath is 100% the best one out there for immediate sort of release and calm and stability. You've given us some examples around the positivity or the positive light that we can shed on acknowledging what's happening right now. It's like, what are the opportunities we can take out of this? So what would be some sort of lasting thoughts and tools that can help people that are definitely in a fear state right now, in an uncertain state? So which have helped me move from a fear state to love, abundance. So it'd be great to sort of just finish off on a few of those thoughts.
Well, I think that no matter what challenge you discover that you have, that a process for nurturing and resolving those challenges is necessary. So if you wanted to play tennis and to be a good tennis player, you would go and take tennis lessons. If you wanted to speak Spanish, you would go and do a course online or with somebody who could do more personal process, so that layer by layer, you invest in yourself, you resolve the challenge, you build skills that allow you to fulfill whatever is important to you. So what I would say is that fulfillment of self needs a process. And so you may have someone you're already working with. You may need to begin searching out and feeling what feels right to you. When you go to find whomever you end up working with during pandemic online, watch for some things. Make sure that people know how to teach you to move energy in your body. such as we just did with breath. There are many ways to move energy, because all of our vitality and awakening and intimacy and health depends on moving energy. Secondly, make sure that it has clear tools for connecting to your emotional energy, nurturing and resolving the emotional gaps that are there. So if you want to explore just a little bit and get a taste of an approach for that, please go to my website. There are some free meditations that will begin to get you connected to your inner child, that will begin to help you move energy and understand more of your potential. There are tools there for you to explore, including lots of past podcast discussions, tools, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I would say, a process of self.
Appreciate, and the process is definitely 100% working for me, not only benefiting self, but benefiting the ecosystem around it. Not only has abundance from a new career started to take shape, family connections been amplified, my relationship with Sarah has only got better as we navigate and ask questions and continue to work through and evolve. But as I kind of started this, was so many people invest money in getting a tennis coach, or investing in getting a fitness subscription to lose weight. But I feel like not enough of us invest in the stuff that needs to be worked on, so everything else can work. The internal mechanics, so guides is what we need to look at. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And I kind of finish on a quote as well, is by AJ Materi, which is, so many people spend health gaining wealth and then have to spend their wealth to regain their health. And that's resonated a lot with me over the last sort of couple of years. Is like, we're just so quick to get some more wealth, another house, another thing, building up whatever, building a business, and we forget about the health. Now, health comes in so many different facets. So understanding what actually health is as well is another great start. So Ron, I'm just, so grateful for your wisdom, your guidance, your support, everything over the last couple of years. And like, I've just been so excited about this, to be able to share it to other people in my network, friends that are going through a tough time, that there are ways and means to reach out. And we don't need to be depressed or have anxiety. There are tools out there. And another thing, I just keep having these thoughts, is I watched Gabriel Matur, I think, the Wisdom of Trauma, I think it was a movie. And he's like, are we actually just labeling mental health with depression, or are we just a little bit nervous? And with anxiety, are we just a bit, with depression, are we just a little bit sad, which is okay? Let's not label things so quickly. And then the anxiety, we just a bit nervous. So maybe ask those questions. And as I said, I'll send through some links with Ron's website to be able to follow up. And I might even put one of his past performances on. It's freaking impressive. He's been doing breath work for more than 25 years because he's been singing his hearts out. So Ron, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. All the best.